Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Creep It 100 podcast. I am your host, Kinson. I am here with Mark and Jeanette. Say hi, guys.
Yo.
Hello.
All right. We got a little bit of a different setup today. Mark is actually in studio with me. So that's fun. That's new. Jeanette's still, wherever she lives. But it's okay. It'll all be fine. It'll be a good time. So on this episode, we're going to go over part 2 of Samuel Little. On last week's episode, we ended it kind of a cliffhanger. We were talking about how he had just gone to jail for these 3 murders of these 3 women. And we left off by saying we were going to go over this documentary called Confessions of a Killer that Gillian Lauren put out. And in this documentary that she put out, she makes contact with Sam Little, and she basically tries to, uncover a lot of these unsolved murders that we have. The reason that Gillian Lauren is so attached to this story is because she actually used to be a sex worker before she turned into a journalist, and many of Little's victims were sex workers as well. So she felt a very personal connection to this case, and she wanted to do something about it. And this was her way of doing that. So in this documentary, we start out learning a little bit about Gillian Lauren, about how her past life, she was a sex worker, and how she's eventually moved on to become a journalist. She's done another documentary like this with a different killer a few years back, but wasn't very successful, and she didn't really get anything. So she came across the Samuel Little case, and she just thought this was extremely interesting. So she reaches out to Samuel Little, and she eventually makes contact with him. And as soon as Samuel Little realizes that Gillian is a reporter, he's a little hesitant. He doesn't really like to talk to reporters because, like I talked to you guys about last week, he was maintaining his innocence still at this point. He still denied that he had anything to do with the 3 murders that he had DNA evidence convict him for, and he genuinely thought he was in jail for no reason. And that includes all of the 26 arrests in the 11 different states that he did by the time he was like 21 that we talked about. He still thought he was innocent for all of those as well. There's a long time in this documentary where they go over that Samuel Little just doesn't really trust Gillian Lauren because she's a reporter. He thinks that she's up to sneaky things and going to try to trick him into confessing, which, to be fair, is exactly what she was trying to do. So she decides to take it back a little bit. She continues contact with him, and this is every single day. They're talking about anything, everything. They're not talking about the murders anymore. They're not talking about confessing. It's literally just like, hey, how you doing? Everything going good? What's it like in there? What's it like on the outside? Very, very innocent conversations, to the point where Sam has no choice but to start kind of liking her. They start almost getting into like a weird friendship, which is strange to say the least. And I'll talk more about the, weird side that Gillian Lauren has on this documentary later, but it definitely gets weird with her. She starts to take this in a very, very personal approach that I'm just not really a fan of in this documentary. And one could argue that it was a little better for her introduction into Sam Little and to getting him to confess, but it's just a weird thing to let yourself get too into this story to where you're actually becoming friends with a serial killer. Like, if you just go outside of yourself for a second and take a look back, you're weird. Like, you're a weirdo for being this close to them.
I'm a weirdo. I don't like to fit in.
So that's actually kind of the reporter she is too. Like, if Jughead Jones was in this room with Samuel Little, it would be the exact same documentary. Nothing would be changed in this entire thing. So we have them talking back and forth, and they are kind of becoming casual friends at this point, to the point where he wants her to come visit. She comes to visit, and this first meeting, he is just completely maintaining his innocence the entire time. He's still saying he didn't kill anybody. He's still saying he doesn't even know why he's in jail. It was false evidence, blah, 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 because DNA evidence at the time of his arrest was new. So he was like, oh, it's just this new thing. It's unreliable. We don't know what's going on with it. The second visit that she comes and sees him at, he is in the middle of a story, and he's talking, and he's describing a girl that he once knew. In the middle of this story, he pauses and kind of like has this look of remembrance, she says. And he just gives up and he goes, you know what, young lady? You caught me. You want to hear about the first one? Which is the scariest thing I could possibly imagine for looking in the eyes of this man who's accused of killing 93 people. And him just being like, all right, you got me. Let's talk about it. Let's go. Let's go through the beginning. Because also, this is not behind glass. They are just sitting in a room together. He's not even locked up. He has a heart condition at this point, so he's in a wheelchair. But other than that, he is completely just in there with her. So she describes this as horrifying, being in the face of like this very, very known killer who likes to strangle young, pretty women, of which she is.
There's something about him being in a wheelchair that like makes that even more eerie.
It's a little Dr. X-y.
It kind of feels like that Hannibal Lecter scene where he's not in a wheelchair, but he's like tied up and on that like board thing. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what that's like reminding me of.
Yeah.
Scary.
It definitely, I don't know, it definitely has like, has weird vibes to it of seeing, it kind of humanizes them a little bit. Seeing someone that was capable of such insane things be disabled in a certain way, whether that's physically restrained like Hannibal was in that, or being in a wheelchair, and him like, you know, knowing that all of his acts of killing were such a physical thing. Like he strangled people. That's a crazy act of like physical violence. To know that he's just in a wheelchair, he probably couldn't do that if he wanted to at this point. And this is in 2014. I don't know if I mentioned. So he's getting up there. I believe he's in 2014. He's 75. So he's up there.
Don't underestimate the old man's strength. I'm so serious.
That's, you know what? You know what? You're not wrong about that at all, actually. That's a lot of truth to that. Not gonna lie. He's weird. So this is all going pretty good, and the second time they're meeting, which is when he's right in front of her like this, he has that moment. He says, you know, what do you want to know about the first one? He eventually, in this same meeting, confesses to 13 murders, which is more than he has ever said to anybody ever.
God damn.
Yes. 13. It's a crazy amount. So then she comes back the next day or a few days later for another interview and another session to like hang out with him. And he confesses to 25 more.
More?
Oh. Yes. So that's what, bringing our tally up to 37 that he's confessed to in like 2 days?
So he was just throwing them out like cards, basically. Jeez.
Oh, yes. This really does open the floodgates to like a mass confession. And I think in this moment of so many confessions at once, I think Gillian Lauren kind of starts to lose focus of what the documentary is really about. And that is kind of the downfall of this documentary. She starts to kind of use all her interviews as a kind of a podium to talk about how it's affecting her and how she's sad and she's upset because, you know, he's saying crazy things and he's being weird. And then she's like crying in like interviews and stuff, like talking to the camera just one-on-one. And I'm like, yeah. It seemed like it got to a point where she was just recording herself to get bits for the trailer. Like she was
a little bit of a pick-me girl.
Yeah, it's very pick-me girl vibes, actually. It's exactly
what she's about doing. Me now.
Yeah, it's kind of like all of Jeanette's social media. And so... No, I'm kidding.
The shade. All right.
The disrespect.
So she kind of does weird things after this point, and then she tries to throw around points that don't really make sense. Like at one point, and one of the biggest points that people had a problem with in this documentary is she blames a racial justice system, or a racist justice system rather. But Samuel Little is a elderly black male. So she's blaming the fact that he didn't get caught because the victims were of, what we described last week as less dead. But he himself, with 26 arrests or we're up to like 30 arrests at this point. If he would have been killed, he would have also been considered less dead. So the racist justice system argument really doesn't work because he is who you would consider a minority in that racist justice system. She does the crying and the interviews and things like that, and most of it I don't agree with. Most of it I think that she's just being dramatic, but there's one scene that particularly I get it, and I think I would cry too. Samuel Little pulls her aside one day while they're talking and says that he owns her now and she has become one of the souls of his victims and they are destined to be together forever. Like what he says is his little babies, which are he coined that phrase for the souls of all of his victims that he says lives with him in his mind.
Yeah, if somebody said that to me, I'd cry too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one I completely get. I think if a man with 93 kills under his belt, I think if a man who is probably, has enough kills to prestige said that to me, I would be very upset. And I'm pretty sure he starts repeating this to her over and over and over again. And it got to a point, I guess, where she would get calls at home because they had phone calls. If she didn't go see him, they were on the phone together. She would get a call and it would say, would you like to receive the call from inmate Samuel Little? Like that, like on the automated voicemail thing. And she would have to run to her garage because she has kids and she didn't want to have him say anything weird to the kids. And she also did not want him to know that she had kids because she thought he was going to be weird and say weird stuff about him. Also, this is the part that I was really excited to tell you guys about. Her husband is the bass player for a band that both of you know, and I want you to guess. You get one guess each.
Is it a rock band?
It's a alternative band.
Alternative.
Dude, this is a question I'm not going to be able to answer.
How
I
old is
don't
she?
know any bass players.
How old is the guy?
The guy, he's middle-aged.
Middle-aged.
Middle-aged, yeah.
And he plays bass?
Yep.
For a alternative
Correct.
band.
Yes.
He's in his 30s.
They were super poppin' like a few years ago, I'd say, and not as popular now, but
yeah. Foster the People.
Good guess. Good guess, but no. Jeanette, You want to give us a guess?
I do not know any bass players, dude. If I'm being completely honest.
No. Just guess a band.
Guess alternative band. I'm gonna say something that's probably way off topic. Nirvana.
All right. No. Her husband is the bass player for Weezer.
Well, there it goes.
That is the weirdest connection in the entire world. I saw that and I saw a picture of them pop up of them together. I laughed uncontrollably hard.
Bro, say it ain't so.
Say it ain't so. Oh my god. Yeah, so we get to this point where the bass player for Weezer is coming to her being like, hey, I'm a little concerned about, your mental health, having to talk to this like killer every day. And the only reason that he kind of excuses it is because she is actually identifying a lot of people during this process. This is one thing I will give the documentary credit for, and her credit for, is she does identify somewhere in the ballpark of like 15 to 20 unsolved murders and pins it on Samuel Little and gets him to confess to these murders. So, say what you want about the documentary, but she did have a good impact from this. However, it does get a little weird, and there's a specific point in the documentary where it's kind of what the documentary leads up to. It's this climax of Jillian being on the phone, and he directs her to a certain like city and then to a certain street, and they're on the phone, and you can hear his audio and you can hear her audio, and they're walking, and he's like, all right, now take 10 steps this way. Do you see this? Cool. Turn there. Blah blah blah. And he brings her to where he dumped a body. He doesn't tell her why she's doing this until she gets to the part, and he's like, look down. Do you see this rock over here and this and this? And she's like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, that's where I dumped blah, blah, blah. Says her name.
I think I'd throw up.
Yeah. That was one of the most like intense parts of this entire documentary.
I would have hung up. Not gonna lie. I don't know why.
Oh, really? This is what you did this here? Okay, sick.
Yeah, safe, hard. Click. Goodbye.
It's enough.
I don't know. Like,
enough for you for today.
I don't know.
Yeah. Seems like you're almost out of minutes, bro.
Come home to my husband who plays in a Weezer and be like, yeah, I'm taking a break from Samuel.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? This whole Samuel thing, maybe you were right, bro. Maybe you were right. Let's not worry about this too much. It is then revealed, which is one of the weirdest parts of this relationship that they have, is that she made a deal with him because, like I said, he was in this wheelchair, he had a heart condition. He's rapidly declining in health, and he's getting very, very bad. So she makes a deal with him, basically saying, if you start talking, if you start telling me what's going on, I will stay with you. You won't die alone. And that is the reason that he keeps confessing all these things, is because he, in the end, is scared of dying alone. And the point I'll bring up about that is that pissed me off. I did not like that because of this. The fact that he knew dying alone was bad means that he had some sort of consciousness and thought about how death was bad, but still did it to all these people. That made me more mad than the rest.
Yeah, that pisses me off. Where's Is he dead?
He is now dead.
Damn, I was gonna go fight him.
Samuel Little is now dead.
I was gonna pull up to his cell block, bro.
Hey, just want to talk.
Pull up to cell block D, and we are gassing my man. Yeah. Well, he did stay in Mansfield for a while. Remember from last episode?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He was dangerously close.
Do you know what cell he was in?
No.
Oh, I'm sure we can find it out.
I feel like that's probably a record somewhere. I'm surprised that they don't say anything about that.
The only cell that's there's
notable.
2 cells marked. There's the Andy Dufresne that they filmed the movie in,
and then the fire,
and then the fire guy.
Yeah.
Little off topic, but this one cellmate at the Mansfield Reformatory set himself on fire in one of his cells.
Wow.
Yes, he did it as a protest to poor treatment and underfeeding the prisoners, and so he locked himself in his cell. It's on the 4th floor, which I don't know if you or anybody listening has ever seen Mansfield Prison or pictures of it, but it is just a row of cells, and then another row of cells on top of it, and another row of cells on top of it, and they go 7 stories high of just cells.
With the tiniest walkways.
Oh, it's scary.
Ew.
And so this is 4th cell up, and there's not even enough room. There wouldn't even be enough room for a dude to stretch a hose around that corner. Mm-mm. It's just the entire cell still to this day is just charred.
Jeanette, when you come visit Ohio, we'll take you.
Yes.
I am down.
They do self-guided tours, and you can walk around the prison and see all this crazy shit. It's really cool.
It is really, really cool.
Ooh. What's the plan?
All right. Well, with that, we kind of wrap up the documentary part of this, and we are going to head to a short break. After that break, though, we are going to talk about how our boy Sam Little is a little bit of an artist, and he gets to play drawing time in prison for a while to help the FBI identify a bunch of his victims. And we'll get to that right after this short break, guys. Hey everyone, this is Kinson from the Creep at 100 podcast. Today I'm here to talk to you about Skillshare. Skillshare is a platform where you can explore thousands of hands-on creative classes to better yourself in any area. These areas include TV, film, animation, creative writing, music, design, illustration, photography, anything you could think of. Whether you're here to just learn a new skill or learn how to start a small business, they have classes for everyone on Skillshare. Exclusive for our listeners, guys, you can go on and you save 50% when you sign up for an annual plan. Make sure to click the link in our description below to sign up for your free trial and join Skillshare today. It really is one of the best places to learn any new skill, and I promise you guys will not regret it. Sign up for Skillshare today. All right, we are back from our break, and like I promised, we're going to talk about Sam being a little bit of an artist.
Sam being a little. Nice play on words.
Nice, yeah. Yeah. Jesus. So that documentary and everything like that, it all happened, and she was introduced to Sam Little, Jillian, in 2014. So we're going to flash forward to 2018, and we're approaching his death. We're approaching pretty fast to his death.
Oh, great.
In 2018, we're 2 years away from his death. He died in 2020. And...
That recent?
2020.
My man, did he know about the pandemic?
I don't know how late in 2020 it was.
Hold on. Let me...
Research time.
Yeah, research time.
It was December 30th of 2020. Yes, he did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, December 30th of 2020. He almost made it to 2022. He was, that was what, 2 days away? 2 days away from 2021. Sorry.
I was like, huh?
I did bad. But
He skipped over a whole year.
Yeah. My man used the souls to time travel.
yeah. So in 2018, there is a Texas Ranger who comes to visit Sam. Sam at the time is 79 years old, and this Texas Ranger's name is James Holland. He, at the time, is staying in a California prison, and he is currently serving 3 life sentences. The reason that James Holland is there is because he wants to ask him about a murder that happened in 1994 in Odessa, Texas. Oh, what about Odessa, Texas?
Yeah, Jeanette, what do you know?
Yeah.
My siblings literally live right there, next to
Was it them?
Oh, well, let me ask.
Call him up, live.
Yeah, live on here.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So he is asking about this because it was not uncommon and still kind of isn't uncommon for any murder between about the 70s through 2012. There's 93 kills. They've only confirmed 40. It means there's 53 left that are unnamed and unknown. So it is actually a practice in police stations to cross-reference where Samuel Little was to see if an unsolved murder might have been him.
Link it to him?
What?
Link it to him?
Oh, link it to him.
Yeah.
I thought you said Lincoln's tomb. I said, excuse
you
me,
said
bro?
a tomb.
What are you saying to me right now?
Lincoln the Vampire Hunter.
True. I actually went and I did my own math on this to figure it out. And in the 1970s, 1970 through 1979, Samuel Little was, at the time, he accounted for 15% of every unsolved murder in the country.
Jesus. Do you think he saw The Exorcist?
When did that release again?
1974.
I bet you he did.
God.
I bet you he did.
What's her name? What's the
Jillian Lauren?
Call her.
Oh, yeah.
Get her on the phone.
Yep. All right. Mrs. Lauren.
Hey, what's your favorite movie? What movies did he talk about?
Yeah, she probably knows. She probably actually knows because they talked about very, very I think somewhere in
personal things, right?
Yeah, they talked about personal things to gain the trust. So he probably does know about things like
I also
that.
just want to say how nice it is to actually talk to you in person.
It is very nice. It's very nice.
Must be nice, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeanette, when are you going to come and join us?
True. When are you going to come back?
I'm going to take a trip.
Back?
Back, I know.
You were here?
Yeah. You were here for that episode?
I must have been asleep.
That's. I think that episode got lost in the back rooms.
In no clipped?
In no clip. That episode no clipped. So they're doing this interview, and James Holland is kind of grilling him about this murder in 1994. Sam is not good with dates. He remembers every single thing down to the car he was driving, the clothes that the victims were wearing, everything. He just is horrible with dates for some reason.
I get it. I don't know my Mondays from my Tuesdays sometimes. So.
I get that.
Couldn't even tell you what year I graduated high school. I mean, I can.
I had to think about it too.
Yeah. It's something you gotta you gotta access like the deep membranes of the brain.
You gotta go back.
You block a lot of stuff out, you know?
Yeah.
High school sucked for me.
What's that like?
What's that like?
Holland eventually, through these interviews, figures out that in his pastime he likes to draw. And so...
You like to draw?
I'm Samuel Little. No, he just goes for like a Hail Mary pass on this, and he brings in art supplies. He brings in paper. He brings in like these like weird oils and like things like that, and asks if Samuel Little can draw a picture of some of his victims.
Oh my god.
And
Okay.
They get weird. He's like good. Like not amazing, but weirdly good and accurate at drawing these victims. And these drawings have actually cleared 30 additional unsolved murders just by using these drawings. Just by using his drawings. So,
Jeez.
and it's so intense that the FBI on their website has an entire section completely devoted to his drawings, information, and an interview, a small interview, like 3-minute clip, to see if they can, if there's anybody that can identify these unknown victims. Which actually, we are going to listen to one of these interviews here in a little bit.
Wait, so if I wanted to, I could go look up and I can see these pictures. Oh, you have it pulled up? Oh my god!
.gov.
Those aren't bad.
I'm going to.
I'm gonna do my research.
Don't worry about it, Jeanette. I'm going to share my screen right now for you.
Okay, great.
So.
Traumatizing. I'm ready.
Yeah. So, Jeanette, this is one of the drawings, and for our audience, I highly, highly encourage you to go to the FBI's website. All you would have to do is type in Samuel Little FBI website, something like that, and you can see these drawings that he's done. And they are weirdly accurate, and like they're just not bad. I just don't understand.
They're
like,
not bad.
See, that one, that second one is like, I don't know. There's so much detail there.
It's eerie. It is eerie thinking about the fact that the only reason he knows how to draw them is because he was fantasizing about these people. Like we said, he has his, little babies in his head that he just thinks about all the time. And these are just a few of these victims. So I actually wanted to go over a few of these that are on the FBI's website because they are paired, as well as being the drawing there has a quick little, clip of him talking about these victims, as well as a little description of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about this unmatched confession that is in Miami, Florida. He says it's in 1972. And what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm just going to let you listen to his interview. It's just a few minutes long, and listen how casual and like passive he is about talking about these women that he just killed.
Tell me about Mary Ann.
She's what you nowadays they call a transgender.
She's a black male dressed up as a female. Okay. How tall is she?
Marianne's about 5'7", 5'6". She weighed about 135.
Okay.
Maybe 140.
And how old do you think she was?
But she was 19.
Okay. And where was she from?
No, Miami, down in Liberty City.
Okay. And did she, you'd mentioned before she had a boyfriend, or she talked about a boyfriend?
Named Wes.
Wes?
Yeah.
And tell me about where you met her at.
I seen her down at the Guar on 17th Avenue, and she had on a short cream miniskirt, cream and red. So then this opportunity popped up. Take her to the store.
Right.
Instead of me bringing her back to the apartment, I went down 27th Street. That's going down to Fort Lauderdale, called the Alligator Alley. It runs into the Alligator Alley.
Right.
But the further out you get, the further you get out of Miami.
Right.
And you got vegetation.
Now, how far outside of Miami do you think you were?
About, it wasn't too far out of Miami, right there. I was in my stepdad's car, Pontiac Le Mans.
Now, where'd you take her to?
Continue down 27. Got back on 27.
Going outside of Miami. Okay.
Miami.
Going away from Miami.
Going away from Miami. We got down past the let's say limits. So I continued on toward Fort Lauderdale, and I seen a road going off the main road back into the vegetation on the left side. So I got her out of the car, pulled her out, and drug her into the growth back there, and pulled her deeper into there's a path. A little path was running somewhere. I don't know where it led it to, but it was running deeper into the undergrowth. It's like Everglades like that. And we ran into some water running. But before we got to the water, the earth was mushy. I turned her loose, and she fell into it face down.
And how far outside of Miami do you think you were?
About a mile, 2 miles.
What year did Marianne occur?
72.
Okay, 1972.
The details are what's getting me, not gonna lie, I got chills listening to that whole thing.
It's scary. It's like, but exactly like you said, like, do you see how he remembers every single thing? And in this one, he did remember the date, but usually he's not very great with dates. But I mean, he remembers everything. He remembers the skirt that she was wearing when they met. Like he remembers, you know, the car he was driving. He remembers whose car it was. Like it's kind of insane.
He remembered her weight and everything too. It's so scary.
Yeah, her height and weight. Yeah.
Sick.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read through a few more of these confessions that he has because they're all on the website. And I do highly encourage to actually go and listen to the interviews that he has, because each one of these is paired with the picture that he drew of her, of the woman, and a like quick 2-minute interview where he talks about them. And also at the bottom there is an entire map that has geolocations of every single place that he has been cited and apparently murdered somebody.
Is that 2 in Ohio?
There's one, yeah.
Is that Cleveland?
There's Wilbury Hills, Ohio, and then there is
Cincinnati? No, it's Covington, Kentucky.
It's close. Yeah. So the next one I'm going to go ahead and talk about is this one that was in North Little Rock. So he says that this was in between 1992 and 1994. He said that it was cold, it was snowing, and he saw this woman. She was about 24 years old, about 5'5" to 5'7", maybe like 200 pounds. He described her as one of his hefty ones, which is real polite. And he said that this one actually lasted about 2 or 3 days. He interacted with her for a while, and they were going around, and they were actually like little like crime buddies. They were like, you know, Bonnie and Clyde. They were robbing places, and eventually they shoplifted in Kroger in Little Rock. And there are actually records to indicate that Little was in fact arrested in North Little Rock by the police department for shoplifting. And he says that she didn't get caught, so she, you know, hopped back over to the car. It was just laying in the car and hanging out. And apparently the manager got so irritated of this woman just like living in the car for 3 days that he called the police department, dropped the charges just so that he could come back and move the car out of the way. Which is another prime example of like what we talked about last episode, where he just gets out of everything, and I just do not understand. Then says, to go on, it goes on to say that Little stated that when he returned to his vehicle, the woman was sleeping inside. He first drove the woman to meet her ex-boyfriend, and that was a man called Bear, and he thinks that Bear is now dead. Then he drove her back to her house. He returned the following day and drove with her towards Benton, or Bentonville, Arkansas. When they were outside of Little Rock, Little drove down a dirt road, and then he manually strangled the woman to death. Little stated that he placed the woman's body on a pile of branches and old corn stalks, and it was around a cornfield. And he believes that the woman's name may have been Ruth, and that her mother lived in northern Little Rock.
Good.
My God, I think that deserves a fun fact.
I agree.
Oh my God. I was about to say that.
Okay, here's our fun fact. Despite its massive success, it has only been nominated for 2 major awards, one being a Daytime Emmy in 1990 for A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, and another in 2003 for the voice of Velma, Mindy Cohn, for outstanding performance in an animated program.
Interesting.
They
Yeah.
were robbed,
That's
low
nice.
key.
You said what?
They were robbed. They deserve more.
Big robbed.
I agree. I agree on that one. All right. So I'm going to get into one more of these before we close out, guys. So this is going to be the unmatched confession that was in Las Vegas, Nevada in 1993. So in 1993, Little was driving a 1978 yellow Cadillac Eldorado to Los Angeles when he met a black woman on Owens Avenue or Jackson Street in Las Vegas. He described her as thin, dark-skinned woman who was approximately 40 years old. She was about 5'5" and about 110 to 120 pounds. Little believed the woman had naturally short hair but wore a long-haired wig, as he draws the long hair in the drawing. He remembered the woman pointing out her son, a black male who was approximately 19 to 23 years old. Little confessed to talking her into a motel room where he strangled her to death. He said he then placed the woman's body in the trunk of his car. He drove to the outskirts of Las Vegas. He pulled off on a remote road and rolled the woman's body down a steep slope. He then threw her clothes out further down the road, and it is highly likely that her body was never found.
Jeanette, give us a fun fact.
Okay,
think we
great.
need one.
I'm done. Did you know that Scooby-Doo was the longest running franchise?
Really?
I think is. It is the longest running franchise.
That's interesting. I actually would have thought it would
I
have
thought
been
it was
maybe
The
like
Simpsons.
that's exactly what I was going to say. I thought it was going to be The Simpsons.
Well, I think because it's still going. I think
Also, Scooby-Doo's been around since the 60s, dude.
it's true.
Yeah.
that's news to me. I thought that was like
I didn't think that was 60s
an
either. Honestly.
80s thing.
No, I'm pretty sure it was 60s.
Interesting.
Oh.
1969. That's when Scooby-Doo first aired.
Interesting. I did not know it was that old. Actually, wow, that's kind of impressive.
Call yourself a real fan.
I know.
older
I'm
than
gonna
Halloween.
back off for the rest of the time now. All right. Well, I think that we should kind of close it out on that light note after hearing about some of that horrible stuff. So that was our 2-part dive into Samuel Little, all the good and the bad, and the even worse things that he did. He is dead now, which is great. Great, like last time we when we called out the Iceman for being dead. Did we say? Did we get in trouble for calling out the Iceman? We got in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, a
from
little
our
bit.
producers for calling out the Iceman. So I'm gonna be gentle this time, and I'm gonna say he is dead. That's it.
All right.
All right.
No.
Don't say R.I.P. He does not deserve to R.I.P. All right, guys. Well, as always, we appreciate you so much for listening. And this was Kinson, your host, with Mark and Jeanette. Give us a final goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
All right. As always, you can catch us on anywhere where you get your favorite podcasts. And make sure to follow us on all of our socials at CreepIt100. We upload all the time. You'll get new alerts when we are giving a new episode. You get recommendations for movies to watch on our upcoming movie episodes. So make sure to check us out and keep up to date with everything we're doing. And also, we have a new feature at the bottom. If you want to help us support the show, you can go ahead and do a donation to us at the bottom or sign up for a monthly subscription to help us give you a better show. Other than that, guys, make sure to rate us, follow us, listen to us, and we appreciate you as always. See you guys.